Hi, Shirley. Welcome to the EO Wonder podcast.
Hi, Kalika. Thank you so much for having me.
Shirley is one of our incredible members at EO Los Angeles. And when I got to know her, she came to speak at our forum regarding, I think it was a predictable index. Is that right? And I was just like, man, this girl is a superstar and I need to have her on the podcast. But let's first start off with Shirley giving an background on yourself and your origin story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in Iran. My parents moved us here when I was 5, and they always struggled financially, so I grew up kind of watching them, fighting over money a lot. My father was a failed serial entrepreneur, always struggling with businesses. And so I grew up wanting to figure out how I can best help him. And so when it was time to decide, where to take my career in my life, I went into accounting, figuring, it's the language of business. So maybe that's the right way. And I did really well in my very first accounting class. So it just felt right. And so I turned into an accountant. I went to school, got my bachelor's, got my master's in business, got my CPA license, and went to work for a handful of privately held entrepreneurial type companies as controller, CFO, VP of finance, whatever the title was of the leader of the accounting and finance department at any of these companies. And in 2010, I got bit by the entrepreneurial bug. I was really bored and tired of running finance and accounting departments, and I really just wanted to run a business. I wanted to make a bigger impact. And at the time, it was Mortgage Meltdown, and I was working for a $180 million commercial construction company, and we weren't doing well. And so, as the CFO, I had to come up with a list of layoffs. And since I had one foot out the door, I decided to put my own name on that layoff list and basically talked to the CEO, talked him into hiring me as a part-time fractional CFO. And that's how I started, consulting. And to this day, we are a team of 28. I now don't do any CFO consulting at all. And we are a outsourced accounting, outsourced HR, CFO advisory firm across the country. So that's what we do. And that's my story.
Well, there's more to that story because you also was introduced to predictable index.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit how that changed your life and your business.
Yeah. So Predictive Index, I was introduced to that tool in 2014. At the time, I was working for an environmental cleaning company as their CFO. And they had 25 people in the accounting department that they weren't sure, they were the right fit, and they wanted me to sort of revamp that department. So they sent me to this workshop for Predictive Index, and I was a 16-hour, 2-day, pretty intense workshop. And I came out of it as, a Predictive Index certified analyst. But what I really got from it was, for the first time in my life, a true understanding of what my natural workplace behavioral characteristics are. And that was the first time that I really connected the dots around why, even though I was a trained accountant, I went to school for accounting, why is it that, every 3 or 4 years, I would just need something new, want to do something different, get bored? And, why is it that I got bit by that entrepreneurial bug and wanted to start a company? And so Predictive Index is the reason why I am where I am today, is because, I learned about who I am, what my strengths are, and therefore what my weaknesses are. And it was instead of relying on, what I happen to decide to study in school, I'm now really honing in on my own personal strengths. And that has been truly life changing.
So, share with our audience what your personal strengths are.
Yeah. So I am definitely a people person. I am out there, I'm very curious. I'm also, I like to make change, right? I like to shift mindsets and have some sort of influence on people or the world. I'm also extremely impatient. I think that's a strength, although it depends on the role I'm in, right? As an accountant, being impatient was not a good thing, which is why I don't actually do any more accounting. But I am impatient, so it's go go go. That means I can manage a lot of different things at the same time. And then, I'm very big picture, right? So not very detail oriented, but I see the forest through the trees. And again, that's not a great trait as an accountant, which is why, that was sort of like the light moment for me. Those are some of the things. Yeah.
That must have been a big aha moment for you, right? Is here you're in college and you're good at it. It's not like you're not good at accounting. You succeeded. And isn't that interesting how you're sort of succeeding at things that you're just okay on?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly it was difficult, right? But at some point, I think as we grow up, right, as adults, and we get married and we have kids and we have responsibilities, there comes a time, I think, in everyone's life where you think about, am I being authentic? Am I living my true passions, right? And something was just off. Like, yes, I was good at accounting, I could do with my eyes closed, right? But it wasn't feeding my soul, and I knew that there was something missing. And so it was definitely an aha moment for me to be able to just have that mirror and have like a scientific tool that was helping me kind of admit, if you will, that, you know what? Yeah, you went to school and became an accountant, but you're not an accountant, you're an entrepreneur. So
And you use this tool also for your employees and also for clients, is that right?
yes, absolutely. So we use the tool as part of our recruiting strategy for our company. It's a big part of that. It is just one data point, but we do use it quite a bit. And then when our clients hire us for recruiting, we will also use that as part of the services that we provide to them. Yeah.
And you said that there was this one woman who you didn't end up hiring, but she thanked you.
Yeah. Yes. We were searching for a CFO last September of 2023, and it had been a grueling process. We've been searching for months and could not find the right person. But yes, so this woman, I know who she is, even though her comment on Glassdoor is anonymous. I have a feeling I know who it is. But anyway, she applied to the position, and we took her through our entire recruiting process, a part of which is predictive index. But our recruiting process is, I think, what really, made her kind of reach out and put that comment on Glassdoor for us. We really, as part of our recruiting, we see the recruiting process as, a way to make sure that it's a fit for both, right? Employee and employer. So we really dig deep and we think about and talk about, what is it that you want in your life? Where do you want your career to go? Because we see ourselves as, we have an obligation to our employees to help them get to the next level in their career, to help them write their LinkedIn profiles a year from now. And so it's our job, right? Not to make sure, not just to make sure that they're a good fit for us as a company, but that we're a good fit for them. Culturally, we fit, that they would be happy here, that they can contribute, that, so it's a two-way street. And so, yes, this lady, she ended up not getting the position with us, but she gave us an amazing, thank you, even though she didn't get the position, for having just such an in-depth recruiting process that allowed her to really learn about who she is as a person. And have a better understanding of what she wants from her next employer.
I mean, so thoughtful and considerate, because a lot of times with the recruiting process, it's just you don't, it's not done in that type of way.
Which is really sad, and it's one of the things that I really think needs to change in the world is how employers see employees. It tends to be kind of one-sided, right? What can you do for me? How much loyalty can you bring and have to me? And I think employers really need to shift their mindsets into truly understanding that, in order to have solid culture and people that are going to, perform for you, you have to show that you care about them, at the human level. And I think because, especially here in California, where it's such a litigious society, that employers are generally afraid, right, to be vulnerable and, show their human side and, you know, just treat employees like humans, right? It's always kind of like this business thing. And so but I truly, truly think that if you have your employees' best interest at heart and you treat them with respect and you appreciate what they do, the strengths they have, you know, take time to put them in the right positions, support them, treat them as you would your own kids, right? I think that would be that would make for a humongous shift in the way that we employ people, in the profitability of our businesses, in the happiness, of ourselves as entrepreneurs as well as our team members. So it's a big shift to make, and it's not going to happen overnight, but I truly hope that over time employers will kind of start to see the advantages of making that shift.
And what's interesting is as you build this beautiful culture, a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't have time to do that. I just really need to worry about my revenue, my bottom line. But the predictive index also has helped people grow their business.
Oh yes,
And your
absolutely.
business has grown.
Have Yes, our business has grown over 400% year over year over year. It's been amazing, and I think the one of the biggest parts that I attribute that to is our retention. So we've had very, very low turnover, and I think there's two reasons for that. One is we spend a lot of time recruiting, right? So it's part of that. I'm sure everyone's heard, you know, hire slow, fire fast, right? So we take our time to find the right person. We go very, very deep into understanding who the person is, behind the scenes, behind the resume. And so we spend a lot of time making sure we've got the right person in the door. But then once we have them, now it's like, okay, employee engagement, retention, how do we make sure that this person is happy and growing and contributing? So we spend a lot of time on culture and core values and, teamwork. And it's not easy because our team is 100% remote. Everybody works from home, in their wherever state they are in the state in the country. And so a very, very big part of our growth has been as a result of this culture we've built. My employees know that they come first before my clients, and my clients know that my employees come first before my clients. And so, I'm a huge believer. You take care of your employees, and they will take care of your clients, and that is exactly what's happening for us and for our business. We got that 400% growth has happened organically. We haven't spent any, money on marketing or advertising or anything like that. We've been extremely lucky and blessed. And it's just been people doing amazing work and our clients talking about us to other prospects. And that's it.
And you've also let go clients.
Yes, we sure have. So, I think that's one of the mistakes I made is right, is not having as good of a process around ideal clients as I did around ideal employees, which we now have, right? But that came later. And so, yes, we had a point in 2023 where, again, it's like there's a focus on your employees and what's best for them. And we had some clients that were not very, how should I say, easy to work with. Our employees didn't enjoy it. They didn't value us. They didn't appreciate us. You know what I'm talking about. Everyone's got, one or two of those. And, we just realized that, like, they don't deserve us. They don't deserve our time and effort and blood and sweat and tears, right? And not to pat myself on the back, but that my team is so good that, like, you know, we're always we have a wait list of clients. We've never had an issue with pipeline. And so if there's a client that doesn't appreciate us and is an a-hole to work with, there is no reason for us to keep them. And so, yeah, in 2023, we actually cut out a good number of those kinds of clients. And man, our profitability went up, our revenue went up, our employee engagement went up, people were happier. We had more time to spend with the clients that do care about us, do appreciate us, do pay us. So yes, that was a really another aha moment, I guess, in my life for sure.
Yeah, because sometimes it surprises you that, because sometimes, as an entrepreneur, you're thinking like, I just need to get as much business as possible to keep the business growing, but that is a huge mistake.
Yeah, it's hard, right? As when you're first starting out, like that becomes the thing, right? How am I going to survive? I need revenue. I don't care where it's coming from or who it is. And I don't know if it was a mistake when you're starting, but certainly at some point, like not being aware that you're doing it, I think it was the mistake, right? It's okay to make that decision, but just knowing why you're making the decision and just being honest with yourself and just being like, okay, I know this is not an ideal client for me, but I'm choosing to bring them on for X, Y, and Z. And I'm going to keep my, filters out and eyes open and ears open. And when, such and such happens, they don't pay me or they start being rude or whatever, I'm going to call them out on it. So I think that was the mistake, is just kind of like closing my eyes and doing it without thinking.
We let go Hyundai a couple of years ago. Some people probably know Hyundai, the motor company.
Sure.
And so what we did was because the reason why we did it is because they didn't pay their invoices on time. I mean, it would be till 120 days, a huge company, right?
Wow.
And the project's already up and running. And, you know, we we would always send them cupcakes or, sweet things and no thank yous. And so when they came back to us with more work, we respectfully declined. So,
Wow, that is an
yeah,
amazing story.
crazy, right?
It takes a lot of
Yeah,
courage
yeah.
to do that. I mean, especially a big name like Hyundai, that's wow, that speaks wonders about you, Kalika. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
because you just don't want to surround yourself with people like that. Yeah. I remember this other client who also is no longer working with us. This happened, I think, 2 weeks ago. She broke her own website. We told them don't make your updates, and so their wholesale forms stopped working. And it's a Saturday afternoon, and no developers are around. And so I told her like, okay, I found it. She's texting me. I found someone to help you on Sunday. Right now we don't have them. And then she made this snide remark saying like, well, you know how important this is really going to crush our business. We didn't break her. We told her not to do what she did. She did what she did. She broke the website, and so anyway, She's no longer working with us. And what's interesting is, when you let go of people, it's like they just don't want to let go of you. And so
Yeah.
constant texting, constant, I'm just like, I can't, like,
Mm,
we have to show people how we want to be treated.
totally. It's honestly about self-love and boundaries. That's what this whole thing, whether it's, recruiting the right people or having the right clients, it's all about setting boundaries in your own personal life. Like, what is okay and what is not okay. And, that goes into every area, right, of life. Like, it could be, how many hours do I want to work a day or in a week? You know, who are the type of people that I'm willing to spend my time with? What do I want? What am I willing to, what types of information am I willing to consume, right? What kinds of notifications am I willing to accept on my cell phone? Like, it's all about boundaries, I think. And I think realizing that and setting those boundaries is huge.
Yeah, it's really changed your life too. I know in EO, we have this thing called sharing the top and bottom 5%. I'd love for you to share, you've had these huge successes. What about a bottom 5%?
Oh, there have been many, many, many of those. Let's see. I mean, I've never actually heard of bottom 5%. So is that kind of like your lowest moment in life kind of thing? Is that what you're asking about? Ah,
That's right.
well, it's interesting because last year, 2023, was probably like one of the best years of my life, but it was also one of the most challenging. So it was one of the best years of my life because, number one, I joined EO, so that was amazing. But my husband and I found our dream house that we've been looking for 10 years. We moved, from a 1,400 square foot home to a 4,000 square foot home. My kids are doing amazing. The oldest one is now driving, and he's driving everybody around so we can kind of do our own thing. Record profits and revenues on the business. Like, it was truly a great year. But all of those things brought about quite a bit of stress, and I didn't realize how much stress moving would be. Our mortgage tripled, right? So now all of a sudden it's like, okay, are we going to have financial issues? And then our kids, 2 out of 3 are teenagers. So we're dealing with that. And then on top of all of that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so went through surgery and treatment and hormone therapy that messes with your mood and emotional well-being and mental state. And so all of these things really, really put a huge strain on my marriage. And my husband and I started talking about the D word for the very first time in the 20 years we've been married and 25 years we've been together. And that was really, really, really hard. That was definitely one of the lowest points of my life, is just kind of like the idea that, that part of my life would change and would be over. So thankfully, fast forward to today, I am 100% cancer free. Everyone's doing great. And my husband and I, even though we tried, a million therapists, none of them worked, we ended up creating our own sort of like marriage counseling sessions. We call them date nights. And they are date nights in the sense, normal sense of the word, but they're actually marriage counseling sessions that we hold on our own. So we have rules for them. And, we're just making time to talk about stuff and our feelings in a safe environment that we've created together. And we're getting through it. It's not perfect, but you know, we're committed, and sometimes you just have to get through the rough patches of life to really appreciate what you have and come out the other side. So that's what we're doing.
But you have some fun rules for date night.
Yes, Kalika. You want me to share the first rule of date night?
Yes, why not? I think some women entrepreneurs would love to learn from you.
All right. Well, the first rule of date night is you have to be naked or have a drink in your hand. So, and it's all about being vulnerable, right? When you're naked or drunk, that vulnerability comes through, right? And it's hard to fight and argue and have a serious, like, yucky conversation in which you're mean to somebody else when you're naked. So that's rule number one.
Did you do predictable index for your husband and kids?
Not my kids, but
Okay,
yes, my husband, absolutely.
okay.
Yep.
And what did you learn?
Oh, I just got confirmation. I mean, I did learn that we have a lot of things in common, which is why we kind of butt heads. He's also very, wants to have influence, wants to change lives, wants to change mindsets, and so it's sort of the opposite of being a team player, right? You want to be the leader, you want to have followers, and you want to make an impact. And so we're both that way. And so sometimes that causes us to butt heads. The thing that is most different about us, however, is our patience. While I'm extremely impatient, he is extremely patient. So that becomes kind of an issue too, as you might imagine, right? Because I'm just like, go, go, go. And he's like, slow down. And then even our, like, detail orientation. I'm very high level. He's very detail oriented. He listens to every single word I say, and he'll, like, 2 weeks later come back and say, you said this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't remember any of that. So yeah, I guess it has been a little bit eye-opening for our marriage as well, for sure.
So a lot of people take these personality systems, tests.
Yeah.
There's Myers-Briggs, Strengths Finders, right?
Yeah.
DISC, there's Colby.
Yeah.
How is it predictive index
Predictive
different?
index. Yeah. So I've taken some of those. I've taken Myers-Briggs. I've taken, oh, what's the other one? DISC. And they're all good, right? There's nothing wrong with them. And I have to admit, I haven't done a whole lot of research on those other ones. So it's very possible that, since I was involved with them or since I took those assessments, things have changed. But I can tell you that for me, the part about predictive index that has been the most helpful is really being able to compare a person's natural workplace behavioral characteristics to those characteristics that would be present in a successful candidate for a particular job. So what Predictive Index allows you to do is actually create a profile for a successful candidate in any job, right? So I can go into the system and, answer a bunch of questions, and the system will tell me, okay, for this job, you need someone who is extremely patient, very detail oriented, a team player, and an introvert or something like that. So it'll give you an actual graph, right, of where the person, the best person, the most successful candidate will fall in those areas. And then you simply take that and you can compare those results to candidates when they take their, assessment. And then you can see the gaps, right? And no one's ever truly going to be like perfect on the dot, right? But the gaps, right? The gaps are most important, because if you have a very wide gap, it doesn't mean the person can't adjust and change and adapt, but it's going to be hard for them, right? And it's over time, it will become difficult and tiring, right? It's not going to be their natural place to be. But if you have a small gap, right, the system will give you tools for how to bridge that gap, and make just the awareness that there is a gap allows you to, put strategic ideas and tools around bridging those gaps. So for me, that's what's been like the most, helpful part of predictive index. I'm not sure if the other tools have that or not. They might at this point.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's so in depth. Like you also gave this predictive index to us, and I think one thing that I learned from my little profile was that I thought, because my dad and my uncle were entrepreneurs, and they treated their employees, or as an entrepreneur, you think like I need to be this way, like I need to be dictatorial.
Yeah.
And my profile is really warm, like, and so
Yes.
that's what made me feel so bad, like in the very beginning of my years, because I'm thinking I have to act like a CEO. I have to act like a leader. And this is what I think a leader acts like. And then you realize you're like, no, but I really want to be warm and inclusive and make everyone feel like they belong. But then you think to yourself like, oh, I'm a bad leader if I'm like that. But it's
No.
totally the opposite.
Totally the
Right.
opposite. You're
Yeah.
a bad leader if you pretend to be something you're not. Yep.
Yeah. And society trains us in a way, right? The articles that they show, like, look, Elon Musk treats everyone
Yeah,
like this, right? And
absolutely.
he's
And
got a $1 trillion company.
our employees can see right through us, right? They can see it when you're, acting like something that you're not. They can see it. And so why not just be who you are, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to be soft, right? It doesn't mean that you can't hold people accountable and you can't expect, high standards, and you can't expect people to do their jobs. You absolutely can do those things, but you can still be warm and friendly and loving, right? And care about the human beings that work for you. Those two things are not mutually exclusive.
Right. You can coach up and out.
Absolutely.
So you also mentioned how, as an accountant, while you were good at it, you really have this entrepreneur flair, and you're also extremely creative. You do a lot of creative things too. Talk a little bit about what you do on the side.
Are you talking about the salsa dancing? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Salsa dancing. Yeah. So Ray and I met salsa dancing actually. We were at the Mayan nightclub in downtown Los Angeles, which is a salsa club, and we there was a salsa competition, and we were the only couple there that wasn't Latin, of any Latin descent. But we said, you know what? Screw it. Let's just try it. And so we entered in this competition, and went on for several weeks and several stages, and we ended up winning. We took first place, and they gave us $3,000, and we went to Europe and fell in love, and the rest is history. So we still dance once in a while. I'd say once a month.
Naked?
Well, that's for me to know and for you to maybe find
Exactly. Just kidding.
out.
Oh my gosh, you're so cute. You're so fun. But what is really fantastic, you were at Singapore for the Global Leadership Conference as well too. You really built a business rather than a job. And a lot of it probably has to do just like the wake-up call of your breast cancer diagnosis, and realizing when you experience that, the preciousness of life and how we all need to live our lives with our hearts fully open.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. It's it's sad that something like that has to happen, right? Before we can truly realize and appreciate all the things that we have in life. But I tell people sometimes, like, being diagnosed with breast cancer in some ways was like the best thing that ever happened to me because it really truly helped me shift my mindset around what truly matters to me, what my priorities are, who my priorities are, and set those boundaries that I was talking about earlier. I got rid of a good amount of negativity in my life, people that were just not serving me, things that were not serving me, clients, like I mentioned. And I feel free. I feel liberated, and I'm no longer living in the cracks. I'm living my authentic life and I don't care if people like it or don't like it or like me or don't like me. And it's just such a liberating feeling, to be in this place now. And, I feel lucky. I feel blessed, that I had, something that happened to me that didn't kill me, but made me so much stronger. So,
Yeah, I think success is, what do they say, liking what you do, liking how you do it, and liking who you are. Yeah, and like you said, no matter how everyone, yeah, it's who you are, but everyone likes you, Shirley.
aw,
You do. Okay, I'm trying something new. I
okay,
have these cards called Let's Get Closer by Intelligent
okay,
Change, my favorite company.
okay.
And it's like a little tarot card for a podcast.
Oh my
Let's
goodness.
try to, we didn't, I wanted to do this at the GLC podcast, but there are some rules. So
Okay.
I have some cards here. Okay,
Okay.
you tell me which one you want. I'm just gonna
Okay.
shuffle them.
Stop.
Okay.
All right.
What, see, I'm really telling the truth. What would you like to learn?
What would I like to learn? I want to learn how to tango dance.
Hmm,
I've
that would be so
always wanted to
beautiful.
learn tango, but my husband's never been up for it, so I'm not sure what to do about that.
You could find a partner, then win a competition, go to Europe. You could tell them
Yes,
that. All right,
yes.
let's do another one.
Okay. Well, what about you? What do you want to learn?
Well, I'm getting my certification for mindfulness. So I want to, it's different being the recipient of someone doing mindfulness and training someone. So I really want to be able to master that tool to teach and to end suffering in that way.
I love that.
Yeah, mindfulness is a tool that can really help you get over the unsatisfactoriousness of life that we always feel. There's this undercurrent because we're human of like, that's not good enough, or like, but when you realize that awareness, like, oh, that's just that's us being human, stepping back, you
Yeah.
can use mindfulness as a tool, and you can use it as a tool for gratitude, which is the gateway of grace.
Wow.
Grace is peace. So
Wow.
that's what I want to learn.
I'm going to say that mindfulness is probably a close number two to tango for me.
Okay.
I can't, you and I should probably spend a little bit more time because I've had such a hard time. I just can't do it.
So did I. So I don't know if I shared my story about how I got into it. I was the Entrepreneur's Master's program, and they
Okay.
said you just have to pick one thing. That was the one that was the culminating, like, okay, after all this we've been learning the past couple days at MIT, choose one thing for the year. And we're extremely productive, efficient
Yeah.
people. And so I had read a whole bunch of books on mindfulness, and I thought to myself, because I want to accomplish a lot of things,
Yeah.
if mindfulness is the key to accomplishing all this that I want, better relationships, better sleep, better finances, better business, I'm going to do that. And it took me 6 months. I mean, and I went at like a, you know,
Wow.
like a goal, like, like an Olympic brain, like I really wanted to master it. It took me 6 months to get 10 seconds of like this. Wait, what is that? Like, oh, it's me observing, not thought. It's not just thoughts. It's like me observing the thought. It took 6 months. I took classes. I took a 6-week course at UCLA. I took multiple classes at Unplugged. I was doing the Headspace. I was doing Waking Up with Sam Harris. And then
Wow.
that 10-second of that, because it's a practice, because we've practiced ourselves into distraction.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like lifting that weight. And now it's just it's a weight that I can lift now and put into good use because life is hard, so it's tough.
It's so
Yeah.
tough. Well, we should talk more because I think that learning mindfulness is going to be harder than learning tango for me, for sure.
Well, there's a meditation. It's with tea,
Ah,
and that might be good. That's also a really good
okay.
introduction. That's something that you might like because we sit in silence and drink a bowl of tea. We watch a practitioner do it, and it's mesmerizing. It's sort of like the sound bath because it sort of calms your mind down. So if you want to come, May
Let's do it.
29th at 11 a.m. I think that there's 3 spots left. I'll send you a link.
Okay, please do. I'd love it.
Okay, one more question.
Okay, stop.
Oh, what is your favorite book and why? Not Predictive Index.
It's going to have to be The Power of Vulnerability by Brene Brown.
And you're
I,
living it.
I mean, I've read that book so many times and I still, every time I read it, there's more that I get from it. And it's just so simple, right? The message. And it's sad that, you know, we have to practice being vulnerable with each other. Like, I feel like the world would be a totally different place if people would just let their guards down and, not only be vulnerable, but let other people be vulnerable and create that safe space. So, yeah, that would be the book.
Brené Brown is incredible. And I think because she's also a master of vulnerability. I remember her sharing about, as her body's changing, I mean, that's hard for a woman to talk about, as you get older and being in a swimsuit, like she goes at, and here she is like amazing TED Talk. I mean, best-selling author, right? Everyone, uh, waits on her every word. And this is what she's vulnerable about, especially because of all the mean comments that people make, it's just, she's really truly an example, and so are you. Your TED Talk, your EO talk at the last retreat was so vulnerable, and I look forward to hearing more of your vulnerable stories because as you are vulnerable, also people learn to be vulnerable as well too. It's a gift.
And that's what I hope to do is just inspire one person, right, to share their story and liberate themselves, right, and feel this freedom that I've been feeling. And so if I can just do that, just make a shift in one person, I will have done my job.
Thank you so much for joining us for the podcast. You are such a joy and a light, and an example of vulnerability. And also, I just want to hug you all the time. You're so cute. Thank you
I
so
love
much,
you,
Shirley.
Talika. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.